Hey guys, it's Dana. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today's video is going to be a makeup review. I received 3 products from M Cosmetics. If you guys aren't familiar with M, it's the new makeup line that Phan created and recently released, launched, something like that. So yeah, I have 3 products here that I wanted to go over and share my personal opinion on. Now before I get into this review, one thing that I wanted to quickly say, just so there's no whatever going on down below in the comments, is as with everything else that I review on my channel, I'm going to be 100% honest. So when I say something good, I'm not saying that just to, I guess, kiss Michelle's butt, and when I say something bad, I'm not saying that to be mean or anything towards her. Obviously, as with everything else, I'm just going to be honest and give my personal opinion, just because like each and every one of you, everyone's entitled to their own personal opinion, so these are just mine. And also, just like any other product, some things may work out for me and may not work out for you, or vice versa. So once again, this is just my personal opinion on the products. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the Pillow Plush Cushiony Lip Balm. The one I received is in vanilla, so I saved the packaging and everything just so you guys could see. So the actual packaging of the product I think is really cute. Some people may think it's bulky, but I'm a sucker for packaging, so I loved this. It's just a cute little jar, and then the top is more of a dome shape, kind of like a little bubble, and then her little logo M is inside. So as for the actual product, in the canister, it kind of just looks like a really nice nudie pink. Whether I swatch it on my hands or apply it on my lips, it's completely sheer. There's zero color payoff for me, which was kind of a bummer. I do really like the scent of it, and the texture of this product reminds me a lot of the L'Oreal Hip Jelly Bombs that came out a while ago. So like I said, the scent is really nice. I believe this product contains shea butter and vitamin E, so it's definitely hydrating and moisturizing. I will say that I feel it on my lips several hours after first applying. I guess if you were just looking for an everyday balm, something just to keep your lips moisturized, this would be nice. But if you're looking for something with color, I would definitely say skip out on this particular shade. I can't really say anything for the entire color range. I've seen swatches of, I believe, the one that's called Berries, the darkest one, and that looks like it would give you the really nice kind of like just sucked on a popsicle type of look, but this one is just completely sheer on myself, so I've just been keeping it by my nightstand just to slap on my lips. While the scent is pleasant and it is super hydrating on my lips, I just don't feel like this particular shade is worth the price point. These retail for $15. I wish I had the darker one just so I could see like if that one had the same longevity and if it had a true staining effect, because then maybe I could understand. But for me personally, with this shade, I wouldn't pay $15 for it. I feel like this is definitely something you could find at the drugstore and should have a lower price point. So yeah, there's that. Okay, the second product I have here, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really looking forward to reviewing this one because of the name. I don't really know how to pronounce it. Chiaroscuro, something like that. Basically, it's the contour and highlighter stick, and I have mine in the shade Light. So it looks just like this. Once again, I really do enjoy the packaging. It feels nice and heavy and sturdy. So on one end you have a cream highlighter, and then on the other end you have a cream bronzer. Now, being someone with dry skin, I really do like cream products. However, I was a little bit disappointed about one of these. So one thing that really bumped me out about this product is that after about 1 week to 2 weeks of use, I had already determined, okay, if I had paid $25 for this, I'm already quite certain that I'm just not really happy with 50% of the product. The highlighting end just wasn't for me. Maybe the highlighter shades in the darker sticks work out better, but this one just completely disappeared. Like, I just didn't notice any more sheen on my skin, which was a bummer because I really enjoy cream highlighters. However, the other end, the contour side, I really do like, and I've been getting a ton of use out of. Whenever I first wound it up, I was like, okay, that seems pretty dark for being the lighter stick out of, I believe there's light, medium, and dark. It's actually perfect. I really like the contour side. I feel like the color that Michelle picked is really nice. It's not too orange and it's not too red or brown. It's just a really nice natural contouring color. When you first watch it, it does look like it would be harsh, but once you blend it in, it gives a really nice tint of color that you can build up. If you're super fair, maybe one swipe would do enough. I'm anywhere from an NC 25 to 30. I'll go in once and I'll blend it in, and then I'll go in another time, and I feel like after that I have a nice natural contour. It's nothing extreme, so if you're someone who's into like really sculpting your face, I don't feel like you'll get the color payoff. But if you're just looking for a like everyday natural contour stick, I think you'd really like this. Also, if you're someone who contours your nose, it's really easy to use just because it has that nice point and it glides right on. Same thing with just the hollows of your cheeks. I feel like it's really easy to carve out the sides of your face that you're wanting to get, but then still achieve that really natural contoured bronzy look. My final thoughts on this product is that I really do enjoy the contour side. However, since I'm just not really happy with the other 50% of the product, I don't think I would spend $25 of my own money on this product. I could definitely see 10 or 15 for this contour stick if the whole thing was just the contour. But personally, the highlighting side just didn't work out for me. I even tried using it as a cream eyeshadow and I just didn't really see any color payoff. So $25 for something that I don't really enjoy half of doesn't work out for me. But once again, if the entire stick was just the contour stick and it was anywhere from $10 to $15, I could definitely see myself paying that. Okay, now moving on to the third and final product. This is probably the one that you guys are the most curious about. This is the Life palette in Nightlife. Okay, so just a quick overlook of the actual palette. The back is white and you have the names of each of the products, and then obviously the front is clear. I feel like the biggest thing that I heard about this palette was that lots of people didn't like the packaging. Personally, I really like it. I know it could be less bulky, but I like the way it's laid out, and I don't know, I'm a fan of black and white, so I just feel like it looks nice and clean. It's probably not something practical to travel with, but I don't know, I feel like it's something definitely easy to store at home. So inside you get kind of like a screen protector, except for the products, which I kept on there. Also, before I get into this palette, I wanted to quickly mention that this palette retails for $75, so just kind of keep that in mind throughout this review. So inside you get 18 eyeshadows, 4 blushes, and then 8 lip products. The lipsticks, I believe she has 2 different formulas. One is more of a glossy texture, and then the other is just kind of a normal, not really matte lipstick, but I forget the exact names or formulas of the lipsticks. I know it's on the box. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, so for actual tools in here, on the bottom you have a dual-ended brush. One side is kind of a stiff angle, and then the other side is just like a fluffy shader brush. Okay, so first thing, I feel like for $75, the brush that came in this should have been a lot better. Something more like the dual-ended brush that came in the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette, or even just the Naked 1 palette. I don't know, I felt like this was kind of, I hate to use the word junky, but really just kind of junky to come in a palette that cost $75. I would have expected something a little bit more of higher quality and just a better brush selection. I don't know. And then up top you have this little guy here that almost looks like some kind of like knitting needle contraption. So basically what this is used for is to pop out these little refillable products. So you just pop it right in here. Sorry, this is hard to do one-handed. And then it just pops right out. So with this palette, I'm not sure what the promotion going on now is. You have this little travel compact here. So basically with that little tool I showed you, you could use those to pop out whatever eyeshadow and blush selection and lip selection you wanted to and pop it right in here, which I think that is a great idea. I really like that. It has a nice full-size mirror and once again just follows the same packaging. Okay, so now moving on to actual product reviews of the products within the palette. I'm going to start off with the eyeshadows first since that is what we have the most of. Okay, my biggest complaint with this palette is that I feel like the formula doesn't stay consistent within the palette. There's several shades in here that are absolutely amazing. They're incredibly buttery, soft, blendable, almost remind me of shadows that are in the Lorac Pro palette. They're just, I don't know, there's no chalkiness, they're just buttery and smooth. But then for some of the other colors, they are completely chalky, which I don't know, I feel like for $75 you should have the same formula consistent within the palette and nothing should really be chalky feeling or dry feeling. So that really kind of bummed me out. Okay, so before we move on, I wanted to pop out some of these shadows and give you guys close-up swatches of the ones that I thought were really nice and then also the ones that just didn't really work out for me. I also wanted to quickly mention that I did try applying the shadows that just didn't work out for me different ways, whether it was just using my fingertips, a soft brush, a stiff brush. I honestly tried everything to try to get the best color payoff. So, okay, let's go ahead and zoom you guys in and give you guys some swatches. Okay, so starting off the shadows in the very first quadrant, this one here is called Poppin' Bottles. Another thing that I like is that the name is displayed on the back of all of the pans. So here is Poppin' Bottles. As you can see, it's just a super nice metallic silver. This one is one that's incredibly buttery and just super smooth. It glides right on even without a primer, and you get that same exact color payoff on your eyes. Staying in the same quadrant, I have this shadow here called Twinkle Twinkle. Once again, it's kind of that same formula, super smooth and buttery. This was more of kind of a little iridescent pearl color. It looks really nice on your inner corner. Here we have Concrete Jungle, which is kind of a satin charcoal color. You could definitely deepen this one up. And then the final color that I liked in that first quadrant is called Original Sin. In the pan, it looks like it would be a matte black. However, once you swatch it and apply it onto your eyes, it has a tiny bit of shimmer inside of it. So out of the 6 eyeshadows in this first quadrant here, I really liked 4 of them. However, these 2 just didn't really work out for me. Even to the touch, they feel a little bit dry. They swatch nicely on your fingers. However, I noticed with these 2 particular shades, when applying them onto your eyes, they kind of just dusted right off. I don't know, they didn't blend very well. Moving on to the second quadrant here, all 6 eyeshadows are absolutely amazing. I wish every other eyeshadow in here had the same formula. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that there isn't a matte eyeshadow. It seems like for the most part everything in here is shimmery, which I understand with having a night look. You want kind of shimmery metallic eyeshadows, but for being in a palette, I feel like you definitely want some matte shadows to blend out as well, so you're not having to reach for an entirely different palette. So this first shadow here is called Dance Kiss Love. And it looks just like this, just a really nice antique gold. And all of these swatch the same on your eyes as they do on your fingers. They're super pretty and pigmented. Then this next one we have here is called Gold Lame. I actually wish this one would have been a bigger shadow in the quadrant. As you can see, just a super buttery gold. It reminds me a little bit of MAC Woodwinked. This next shade here is called Love and Temptation. As you can see, I accidentally missed the little hole for the tool and dug right into the shadow, which was kind of annoying. So this one here is just a super nice bronzy gold. Next up we have Dirty Martini. I'm getting eyeshadow all over my fingers. Just a really nice kind of deep blackened olive shade. Okay, for the final 2, here is Mini Skirt, which is a deep plum. And then the very final shadow in the second quadrant is called Get Ready. There are those 2. Now moving on to this third quadrant here, as you can see, it's made up of mostly purples and kind of taupey silver shades. This one here is called Cherries. Once again, this is one of the drier shadows in the palette. Although it swatches kind of decent on your eyes, it's just really hard to get a good color payoff. This one here is called 5 to 7. On your finger, it's definitely a drier shadow, and I feel like even on your eyes, you have to use some kind of really bright white base to get good color payoff. This one here is called Friday Night. Looks like that. This one goes on nicely on the eyes, however, it's not as buttery and smooth as some of the shadows we saw in the last quadrant. This one here is called Purple Cocktail. It's just a nice bright purple with a duochrome. So far in this quadrant, this is probably the nicer ones out of the last shadows. Here we have Private Party. Looks just like that, kind of a muted grapey purple. It looks like it would be matte, but once you get up close, there definitely is a tiny bit of a sheen to it. So out of the third quadrant, this shadow here is probably the smoothest and butteriest. It's called Midnight. It's kind of like a charcoal black shade. Now moving on to the fourth and final quadrant, as you can see, it's kind of more of the light pinks and neutral shades. So besides the second quadrant that had all the golds, this one is probably my next favorite. This one here is called Creme. Once again, it has that nice smooth texture. It's not as opaque as some of the other shadows, but you could definitely get good payoff after building it up a bit. This one here is called A La Carte. On your fingers, it doesn't look like much. However, this shadow looks really nice on your eyes, just for a wash of color all over your lids. Next up, we have Sweet Dessert, which is just a nice kind of iridescent baby pink. This shadow here is called Hors D'oeuvres, and out of this section, this is probably one of my favorites. It doesn't feel as smooth as the others, however, the color payoff is amazing. This one looks so nice on your eyes. Next up, we have Table for Two, which is one of the very few matte shades available in this palette. This is just a really dark, kind of off black shade. And then finally for the shadows, we have 8 O'Clock, which is just a super deep pigmented navy. This color is really nice. This actually reminds me of one of the shadows in the Urban Decay Vice 2 palette. Before moving on to the lips and blushes, I wanted to say I wish there was something different about the packaging with the lip products. As you can see, even going in and trying to be tidy with the eyeshadows, you do get kind of dusty particles that can fall into the lips, and then it just kind of ruins the gloss. For instance, right here, there's this sheer baby pink gloss right next to this black eyeshadow. So if you get any fallout from this black eyeshadow while dipping your brush in, that's going right into the gloss, and then your gloss isn't really pink anymore. So I wish there was some kind of lid or flap over these lip products, because it's just really hard to keep the two separated. Okay, now moving on to the blushes. Once again, starting from the top left quadrant, the first blush we have here is called Pinched. To me, this definitely serves more as a highlight. The color payoff is decent. I wouldn't say that it was something up to par of high-end quality considering the price point. I feel like this is a highlighter that you would find in the drugstore. It's just kind of a pinky iridescent highlight. It is very sheer. I've definitely seen things more pigmented at the drugstore. The second blush we have here is called First Date. To the touch, it feels really, really dry. I feel like you almost kind of have to buff away that first top layer. But once you get it on a brush and apply it to your cheeks, I feel like it's a really nice natural blush. It's kind of like an apricot shade. I actually really like this one and I've been reaching for it quite a bit. The third blush we have here is probably the most pigmented out of the bunch. This is called Wink Wink Pink, and it's just the perfect Barbie doll pink blush with tons of shimmer. So as you can see, it is super pigmented. And then the final blush we have here is called Candlelit. Once again, more of a highlighting shade. So this is more of a frosty white, and it definitely has more color payoff than the first highlighter. So out of the 4 blushes, I was really happy with 2 of them. The other 2 just weren't really there for me, especially for being in a $75 palette. However, the 2 that I liked was this one here, which I think is a really nice natural everyday blush. And then the Barbie pink color was nice as well. And I feel like this fits perfectly in with the whole nighttime theme look. So yeah, now moving on to lipstick swatches. The first one here is called Uptown. Looks just like this. These are kind of harder to swatch on your fingers. You definitely do get better color payoff on your lips. Here is called Downtown. As you can see, there's a bit of black eyeshadow fallout in there, but it's just a nice glossy nude. This one here is called Come Hither. I actually really like this shade here. And then we have Nude Attitude. This is another super glossy one. This one was completely sheer on myself. And then we have Time's Up. This one here is called One More, which is basically a completely sheer gloss with a little bit of pink iridescence. As you can see, once again, a tiny bit of black eyeshadow fallout is in there. This one here is called Wine Stain. I actually really like the formula of this shade. And then finally we have Cur Royale, which is just a nice little berry gloss. Now that we've seen swatches of every single product in this palette, we could go into my overall thoughts of the palette. So I guess my biggest gripe with this is the price point. I feel like $75 is very pricey for a line that's brand new that we're not really familiar with. It's not something like Urban Decay or Stila or Makeup Forever that we've all heard of and tried and tested. Obviously Michelle Phan is super successful. She's a great businesswoman, but I feel like for launching something and it being brand new to the public, $75 is a super high price point. Also, I know there's people of all ages that watch YouTube, but I feel like for makeup gurus and stuff like that, the main demographic is teens to early 20s and then maybe, you know, 20s on to early 40s. But one of your main demographics being teens to early 20s, I feel like $75 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for anyone. So I don't know, I feel like that price point kind of alienates a certain group that really watches. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like with that high of a price point, every product should have that same formula and consistency. Everything should be of high quality. I don't think 25% of the eyeshadow should be buttery and amazing like the Lorac Pro or Urban Decay, and then the other 75 be comparable to BH Cosmetics when you can get 120 BH eyeshadows for what, like anywhere from $15 to $20. The blushes, 2 out of the 4 were good. I don't know, I felt like all 4 should be good for $75. And then as for the lipsticks, I feel like she did a great job with the lip product. I would love to try out more of the lipsticks and glosses. However, I just wish the packaging was different for that part, just because it's really hard to avoid the mess even if you go in and try to be neat. As for packaging, I really love it. I know a lot of people were trying to compare it to e.l.f. I own an e.l.f. quad and it feels nothing like this. I definitely think this feels heavier and sturdier, and I don't know, I like the look of it. I know a lot of people were bashing it, but you're never gonna get 100% of the people to like something. Just like Urban Decay palettes, some people may think, oh my god, those are so cute, but other people may think they're way too busy. So I think she was really smart with going with something super like just clean and chic. I don't know, I like it. I just think it's obviously with like any other product, it's gonna be hard to please 100% of the public. So I think for the most part that covers everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess if we were just sitting here face to face and having a normal conversation and you asked me if it was worth it, if you should spend your own money on it, if you just happen to have $75 lying around and you're just wanting to try things, then by all means go for it. But if you're someone who's looking for like an everyday palette to have in your collection or something that you could rely on using every day, and you're tighter on money, I would skip it. I feel like you could definitely go with like a BH Cosmetics palette or something else out there like the Naked palette. That's another thing that's just so hard to like wrap my mind around. A brand like Urban Decay that's been around for a while has palettes out for $49.50, $50, but then this one is $75. I realize that you have a nice assortment of products in here, but once again, the formula didn't stay consistent. That's the main thing that I'm stressing. So yeah, you know, obviously it's your money. I can't tell you what to do with it, but if you're just looking for an honest opinion, I think I would skip on the palette and maybe try out one of her lip products instead. So I think that pretty much sums up this review. I hope you guys found this video helpful and enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. I'm definitely glad that I had the opportunity to test out these products just because, I don't know, I'm curious and I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious as well. That way this gives you some kind of review slash feedback before you go out and spend your money. But yeah, that is it for this video. I'll stop rambling now and let you guys go. Have a good day. Bye.